Hello, my fabulous friends. It's Mini Monday, and we have a Mini Monday sketchbook challenge. We are going to make this sketchbook filled with some summer flowers. And I'm going to go over this step by step. And I'm going to challenge you to take your sketchbook, if you have a mini one, or if you don't have a mini one, whatever, to do a challenge for yourself. And I talk about that on the tutorial here. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't hit the bell notification button, hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial is up. And also check out my Patreon. You'll see the little poop up here within a minute or so. And it's a place where I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials once a week. That's 4 extra videos, usually a lot longer than YouTube, with traceables to go with it and reference material. And on the top tier, I have that and live stream once a month and a download from me. So without further ado, let's get painting. All right, guys, for this challenge, I have my little mini lesion Stonehenge Aqua cold pressed paper pad here. We've got like 10 sheets. We're going to do 10 flowers. Yep, this is a challenge. So I have no drawing tutorial to go by this, but we'll talk about that as we go. My paints and my brushes I'll be using will be Princeton 4 and 8 long round, water jars, paper towels. So basically I'm going to go over them kind of step by step. I have a lot of tutorials throughout my whole entire feed of YouTube. If you just type in on the little, it has a little magnifying glass in the right hand search bar on my about page, and you type in a flower name, you should see some of these that come up. Okay, so they'll be more in depth than this little guy. So this is a challenge. When you see like a little book like this, it's only got 10 pieces of paper in here. You should be able to do 10 different things. And for me, I'm going to use the theme flowers. You can do 10 different types of leaves, 10 different types of trees, 10 different types of animals, birds. Those are the kind of challenges you should think about. And when you start to do a challenge like that, what happens is that you're creating collection, right? And sometimes a collection can evolve into something bigger. You can add a collection upon a collection. So just by doing flowers alone, you can go through all the 10 that you did and you say, I like that one. And then you can build upon that one. Just like we could with the birds or any animals. You can do all woodland animals, all nautical animals. You could do a theme of beach things. You know, there's endless possibilities. So I'm just going to randomly do some flowers. I'm going to mix up some paint first. I'm going to mix up some greens using my cadmium yellow deep. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly because it's, there's 10 pieces. And I'm going to mix my peacock blue, which I like to use for green. Get this. I used to activate my paints with this just spray bottle here. Get them all excited with some water. And I'll mix the yellow with the blue. Let me get some nice pretty greens. So I have a list over here that I've decided to check out on the side here. You can't see it, but I can. And I don't know if I'm going to go in order or not, but let's try it. So I'm going to start taking my magenta. Now I had started using this number 4 brush, but I'm going to switch to number 8. So I'm going to do, the first one I'm going to do is a hollyhock. Now I've done quite a few of these on YouTube, so you can see. My theme is going to be flowers, but it's summer flowers. I mean, you can do other kinds of flowers. This whole book could be all Christmas, Halloween, whatever theme you like. So again, I show people many times how to do hollyhock very simply, just making this like kind of wiggly circles. Other ones here, 1, 2, 3. Get a little smaller as you go up top. You can put a couple more down here if you wanted to. Leaving a space of white in the middle. Now it's going to puddle a little bit in this book because it's a good wet medium book, but it's not an arch. So I've got those, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll grab some of my green. I'll add a little more blue to this. And a little brown. And you're making a stem that goes kind of straight and kind of curves. So you get the stem here, kind of connecting. It's bleeding a little bit. I might have to fix that. And then I'm bending it up here. See? Starting at the gate. lift that paint up. The lead, I didn't want it to bleed too much. A little bit would be fine. So here I'm going to put little stems off the top. It's going to be like blooms that haven't bloomed yet, kind of connecting here. Put one over here. And then I'm going to start to put some leaves in. Just basically kind of wiggling the paintbrush like this. I don't think it's my best hollyhock, but it's also a mini pad, so I'm working with tight constrictions here, guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So we get these bending branches coming off here. Now that little Talbot green kind of bled in here, and I'm just going to lift it up with my paintbrush. Get rid of it so it's not a nuisance. And then I can grab some of this pink again and just going to tap it in here for the blooms that haven't been bloomed yet. And I can go back and add some bright pink. Already we have this little simple flower. Now you take the smaller brush and you want to play around with. I'm going to grab some light green. Just like little sprays kind of floating around that hollyhock. And also, if you want to grab some Prussian blue, kind of bleed that in. You could get a little bit darker green. See that? Get a little bit darker. I'll fix my little leaf here. And this one. Voila. And then I can add some yellow center. I'm not going to keep it this bright yellow. I'm going to add a little brown. Dull it down a little bit. Maybe a touch magenta. Play around with that. Just going to fill in the circle. So basically that's a simple little hollyhock. Go in here. Like I said, you can add some little spray leaves. Little teeny ones coming off to the sides, just to give it some more interest. Not this one note of flower. And you see, woo, I got water all in there. That's kind of a cool effect too, by the way. If you take the paper towel and just tap it on your flower, see how it leaves all those little imprints? You can go back in and fill it in if you want. Don't mess around too much because it would get all, the paper's going to start to bleed and get all messy. So just fix those. And I'll go back in and I'll add my yellow. Alright. We can just add little touches of yellow out here too. That's number one flower. We got to move fast, guys. Going on to the next one. That's dry. Flipping the thing. I actually dried it in between so you can't hear the hairdryer. I'm going to do Delphinium. So I'm going to start with the green first. I'm using a 4 brush. Grab some yellow. Make a lighter green. Again, kind of like a very tall, stocky. But then I'm going to bend it. And I'm going to have these little sprays coming off the sides. A little bit bigger. I'll do like a couple of them. The top ones will be kind of greenish, and as we go down we'll add the purple blue color. So just making little dots kind of at the ends of these little sprays because the delphiniums haven't opened yet. These flowers are very hard to grow for summertime. I've had a few years ago along my deck, and that was it. See, just the green on the end, just kind of tap it with them before. We're just going to get a placement of like where we want to go. Now, for the color purple, blue, I've got magenta coming down here. You can mix ultramarine with magenta. It's a beautiful purple. Grab my ultramarine. Grab some more ultramarine. So it's a nice purple. Adding more blue to it, making it blue purple. and then water that down. Okay, a fair amount of water on both of these. And I always tap it on my paper towel. Now I'm just going to fill it in with the little flower. It's just kind of like this zigzag motion. Just like that. Right? Now I didn't put the sprays over here. I can just add them after I put the flower in. Zigzag kind of thing. Just this delicate purple kind of flower. They can have the zigzag on the sides, and then they can have rounded ones in the middle, because it does open up into like a nice rounded bloom. But when you're seeing it on the side, it's not that way. So now I'm just going to add a little purple. See, I'm just kind of tapping the paint like next to the green. I'm going a little circular on the bottom, kind of in a cluster. And this is just a quick Delphinium. This is not like this perfect. You kind of understand what it is. Right, and add a little purple. Like it's not bloomed yet up in here. And you want to get a little darker, go right ahead. Add some deep blue. See, I'm going in here, adding in some of this. Painting right in the middle. And then Delphinium. Now I'm going to go back and add some of that green. Again, this is just a study. This is nothing like reaching for perfection. I can't even speak perfection today. And these long weekends just make you knocked out. So I'm just tapping in some green here. Again, you can just put some little wispy blooms around. And that's a quick Delphinium. Voila! Moving right along, move that page. Zinnia is what I had next. So they come in a variety of colors. They're like a daisy that's kind of open, but they have layers to them. If you're going to draw them, ooh, you know, they're drawing, I can draw one here. It's like a layer upon a layer. So let's just paint that instead of drawing. We'll do like a pink one first. So you have a layer, just like a daisy, right? I'll do a couple of the pink ones, and then I'll put in some other colors. They come in all different colors. Yellows, pinks, reds. I don't know if they come in blues, no. Oranges. I've got the brilliant orange right here. Play around with that. So we'll do some orange ones. So there's 2 layers. 2 or 3 layers, I think. I have to look at my pictures. And just going by my brain here. So they have the one layer. But then when that dries, underneath is another layer. So we're going to kind of finagle putting some on the layer. So it looks like it's on top of each other. Probably the best thing would be paint the light layer, the bigger one first on the outside, and then go in to the second one. I'm doing it backwards. So what I mean by that is, here I'm going to take a nice, really long, light zinnia petals, the orange, just like a daisy. I'll put a yellow one up back. Get rid of this paint. Long petals, rounded on the edges. And we'll let that dry, and we'll do the second layer. This orange one's kind of dry. We can go and do the layer behind it. And that one dried, so we can go ahead and do the layer on top. See, so we have a layer upon a layer. Those are the zinnias. You look at them as like many layers. So mine's like not perfect. I know what it is, and that's all that matters. The yellow dried. And try and do the layer upon the layer. Hey, you know, it's an exercise in just painting, guys. And then we can do the simple stems. And we can do some leaves. Just kind of wiggle your brush. See, and then kind of connect it. Like I said, we're not going for perfection here. We're going for a challenge. If you want to do like perfect flowers in every single page, knock yourself out. And just adding some leaves. If you want to add some darker color, I'll just grab some Prussian blue. I just kind of put some of that color in here, bleeding it in. Now we haven't done the center. The center actually is the same color with the little yellow dots. Kind of, have you seen the zinnias? They're kind of like greenish yellow. That kind of look. I'm just keeping it light and fancy free. So I'm going to grab a little of this yellow, kind of tap it in here, around the circle. And then grab a little light green, tap that in also. And then we have our quick little zinnia study. You can get a little more technical if you want. Just, I would tap a little orange around this one because that's yellow. It's hard to see. But that's it. That's like a zinnia. I think so. So we're going to move on to the next flower. Oh, one other thing is that I'm going to go in and grab some really concentrated magenta. I'm just going to tap around that center, right, with the magenta ones, and with the orange ones, same thing. It gets some like nice deep orange. And just go around here. It just helps you to see the center better. Looks kind of more like the zinnia that way. And for the yellow one, just do like a yellow orange, just like that. Okay. And like I said, you can go back in here and tweak, putting in the second layers of the petals. Just like 2 or 3 layers. So you know it's a zinnia. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. Moving right along, we're going to do a sunflower. Got that cadmium yellow deep. I'm going to have some orange close by. I'm going to grab some of my brilliant orange, mix it with my magenta, and add a little burnt umber in here. It's good to have like a little orange, brown close by. All right, I got the Princeton 8 back here. So just going to use some basic petals, triangle shaped type petals. Now there's a lot of water in that. I'm going to take some of that water out and tap it on my paper towel, or I can just take that paint that I've just used and kind of use it around here. So you're doing these petals. It's basically curve back together. I like to show half the sunflower. You can show an open sunflower. See, it's not completely open. Get the side kind of sunflower, and then you can do the same thing. Move this thing around here, over here. If that helps you to move the paper around, do that. Again, for the petals, moving this thing around. It's this curve, curve, connect. Curve, curve, connect. And you can put some little ones in between. Connect them. While they're still kind of wet and damp, you could take some of that orange brown mixture that you have, maybe a little yellow, kind of tap the edges of what we just painted. Just a little bit, not a lot, and let it bleed out. It makes like a perfect sunflower. And of course, the stem. More on the dark green side, so I'll add some Prussian blue with a little bit of yellow. And I'll grab a little burnt umber. Got this nice deep green. Maybe a little more yellow. A little peacock. Mine's not as pretty as it should be. It's kind of a dreary green. Okay. And then I'm going to go from this side in here and just bend down. And then here, I'll go straight down. And then we're going to do this, take the brush, point here and kind of wiggle, wiggle and connect it. And then here, take the brush, go out, and then wiggle, wiggle, connect it down like that. And then you can have some leaves in here also, up over by the stem. Make this one a little bit bigger. And that's our sunflower, right? And then we can just put the center. Burnt umber. And yes, I cheat with my black wash. They have black watercolor. I should buy the Holbein one, but I haven't. And I'm just going to make a nice dark brown. And I'll put that in the center. Oh, you want to make it sure that this is kind of dry before you go ahead and do this. Or the paint is really concentrated, which I just did. So it doesn't bleed as much. And just kind of tap around. And I'll leave a white halo. That's a little bleeding, a little too much, but that's okay. I'll fix it in a second. The more concentrated, which is less water on your paint, then the less it will bleed. A little bleed is pretty. A lot of bleed is not. So we'll go in there and we'll fix that with the brush. Lift up that paint, or you can take a paper towel. Say, no, I don't want to bleed. Don't bleed. Just lift up that paint and you can go back over it with the yellow. And if you lost your pretty orange color bleed, you can go try and go back in here and add. Just take your time because it might bleed again with the black there. Yeah, mine got a little muddy. This one came out perfect. The challenge is they can get to you sometimes. All right, well, I'll just tweak that. See? And we'll just go back in here and fix that. Add a little flower petal over here. So that's simple. If you want to put a little, actually we should put a little half one. Give a little half one down here. Little one. Grab the green. A little more interest if you have like a little teeny buddy kind of one. So that's that, and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay guys, so apparently I forgot to film the hydrangea one, so I'm redoing it. Basically, I had some cadmium, quinachradone magenta mixed with some ultramarine blue to make the purple, but I have this really pretty verditer blue up here, which makes a nice blue. And really just going to be tapping your brush. I have Princeton 8 long round here, and we're just going to be tapping the brush like this, leaving some white spaces, like same thing here. Do like 3 balls, kind of little teeny taps outward and bigger ones in this, going towards this section. Same thing out here. And then we're going to just blend in some deeper purples and blues. See, there's a really pale color here. And we can take some blue, purple, kind of blend it in here, a little deeper. Really simple. And then for your green, you're just going to grab that pretty greens that we had. Some of the hydrangeas can be a little bit darker, but a little Prussian blue to that. Just kind of wiggle the stem, the leaf. Here we go. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. A little more green. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. See? Like that. Add some more in here. You can put the stems. I know it's kind of a mess. It's not like the first one because I just didn't realize I didn't film it. Working. This is a long one too, by the way, long tutorial. And so then just going to bleed in some Prussian blue all over that green areas like we talk about a lot. add some more green here. Just put some nice stems in there. And that's how you do it. I mean, this one doesn't look exactly like the other one, but you get the idea. It's bleeding a little too much. Just lift up the paint. You want a little bit darker here on this side. But that's really how we make a hydrangea. It's really simple. And I have tons of hydrangea tutorials on my channel, so check that out. And that's a hydrangea. I don't even know if I stopped that last one. I'll have to fix that. Next one is going to be a dahlia. Now I'm going to switch brushes on this one for you guys. I have a filbert brush, number 8 from Princeton. It's a verditer series. See, it's kind of like a mini oval, small mini oval. I also have a dahlia a tutorial, and so all these, just like I said, you go in that search little icon search box, which is basically like a magnifying glass and a bar on my About page. So let's mix up a pretty dahlia color. They come in many colors. I do like a blush color. So I have my magenta. Clean this off. Grab some of my yellow. That's an orange, and I grab more magenta. This corally kind of blushy color. So it's pretty concentrated. I'm going to water that down. Get more water. Okay, so it's another layering flower like the Zinnia. So we're going to just basically use this brush, which is perfect for it. Just pushing down. And you're turning it. Right? Do the same thing. Turn the brush. I mean, you could use the number 8 if you have to. It just makes the petals simpler. They have a little point to them. And you're going to have to wait till it dries. Do like a small half one here. And we'll do another layer. And it's kind of how this one rolls. Maybe you're seeing that. So it's dry. I'll put another layer. This paint is very watery. This brush is kind of tiny. The dahlia is a little more pointy than the Zinnia. And they have many layers. I think the Zinnia's got a couple, 2, 3, and Dahlia's got many. So we're doing another layer, and then we'll dry that, and we'll do another layer. It's like layer upon layer upon layer. There's a lot of layers with the Dahlia. These flowers can only be out in the heat. I think people bring them inside, or they do something with them in the winter time. So that's kind of how it looks. And then you can see the same brush for your leaves. Grab my blue. This is peacock blue. Grab my yellow. I'll just make the stems and the leaves. It's kind of like this pretty layered flower. Again, I'll add some deeper blues, browns, to make the greens a little bit darker. I'm finagling the green here. That's that. That's a dahlia. It's a little tricky to paint this one small, but I like it. And we can do the center just even a touch darker. Grab my orange and my magenta. Ugh, goodness, these tiny brushes and the tiny. Get it concentrated. Don't do what I did. And just go on top of the center there. You know what I mean. Even I have my mistakes. So that's that with a dahlia. I mean, you can go, like I said, go in and tweak the greens. Add little greens up here. Play around with that. So we're going to move on to the next flower. Okay, the next one I decided to pick a daisy. It's going to be a little tricky because it's a white flower on white paper. So you got your center, which is a yellow, right? So you can do a circle here on the side, like an oval. Do one daisy, do like another daisy. And do like another one here, and then we'll work on some smaller ones. And I'll grab my Princeton 4. So now we're gonna make like petals. You can use a gray, you can use a blue gray. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my black gouache, just really water it down. Maybe grab a little ultramarine blue. So I have like a bluish gray. And I'm just gonna make the outline. You know what daisy petals look like. Just like that. Is they're white on white paper. We're going to have to use basically the shadows of the daisy to show the daisy. So I'm making the outline of the petals, as you can see, with that gray. We are on a challenge here. Going to grab a little verditer blue. And see, we're going to just make the blue on the outside of the petal. I'm challenging myself with this one because white on white. Or you could paint around the daisy. But since I didn't want to do that with any of the other ones, it would make sense for this one to have that look. So I'm just doing a faint bluish gray line, as you can see. I'm waiting for that yellow to dry. And you can, once this one's dry, you can go in here and take your brush and just put a little color from the inside going upward and highlight it. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Got this bluish, grayish color. See? I'm outlining the leaves, putting a little darker blue up here where it meets the center. Same thing with the other ones, once that yellow center dries. It's kind of like an outline flower. And that's what I would say on this one. Because it's white on white, it's tricky because what you're doing is you're painting the shadows that the flower is making. Grabbing more gray on this one. Add a little more blue. You can get a little darker if you want. And then just put a simple outline for the outside petal. Now, how you can work around to make it highlighted so you can actually see it more is the leaves, the greens. And I'll show you what I mean. See, this one got a little too yellow. I'll clean it up a bit. Grab some water. Just go right over that. Grab a paper towel. Try to clean that up. And then go back in. Take a little black gray. You can get a little darker. But I like the ones over here with the blue. This might get a little too dark. I'll have to play around with this a little bit. Okay, so you got your little outlines of your petals. This one I might have to clean up. I'll just grab some water. Just clean up a bit. Okay. Towel is your friend. And you can go back and put the outline in. It's a little messy. All right, so I grabbed some of my greens. Blue, yellow, pretty Kelly green. And you know, the stems for the leaves for daisies are these fun kind of wiggly leaves. So put the stem down and you've got this line. You go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Kind of looks like that. We're going to put some of the leaves next to the petals so you can see the petals more. You see how we highlight that without adding a color in the background? Just go in and add the greens next to the white petals and they will come alive. And then you can see the daisy more. Whereas if you didn't have the greens, you wouldn't really see them, would you? See? It's a little trick. It's a negative space. Put some greens in here, and you'll see the leaves and the petals. Zoom back out. So then in here, you can get a little bit darker. See if it might get a little muddy in here. Ooh, I don't like that. Wiggle, wiggle. Just a simple wiggle. And then, of course, it's just a flat green color, so I'm going to grab some of this Prussian blue, a little burnt umber, and just kind of tap it and bleed it. And it will just really highlight the petals. And my mistake, of course, in here, I bled a lot, but that's okay. And you can get some deeper black, gray tones just right in here. Add a little highlight under the center just to pop it out a little more, right? And just a couple little sprays coming from the center to the petals. Not too much, just a little bit. Don't go overboard. The daisy's a little tricky, like I said, because it's white on white. It becomes much easier when there's a color behind it or next to it. And here, since there's a petal kind of underneath here, a little gray. So that's that. And you can add a little bit of color to the yellow center and grab a little orange. If you want to just put a little deep color here, shadow. Don't fuss with it too much. And again, with the darker green, just kind of bleed some of that color in here. And that's our daisy. So this part came out nice. This one's a little muddy. Can't all be perfect. You know what you do though. If you do have white gouache around, you can always finagle it by putting the white gouache in, and no one's ever gonna know. See? Sweet. It's the beauty of it. All right, we're gonna be moving on. After the daisy, we're going to the poppy. I've done 1,000 of these over the year or so. Keep it red. Let's do red poppy or reddish orange. So I've got that dahlia color. I mix it with a nice blush. Grab a little more yellow. It's a pretty poppy color. It's like an orangey color. Again, Princeton 8 long round. Gonna make like a half moon. Woo! Kind of wiggle that. Another one here. And another one here connecting it. Poppy. Connect it there. Do another one like that. So it's just like a half circle. Then another one. Then you put one here, another half circle kind of right here. Connect this section and then this section like that. And we have our poppies. Now, before you put the black center, you gotta let that dry. I'm gonna grab some brilliant orange. It's kind of mixed in with these colors and kind of bleed some of that, oops, right from the center part. That's a lot, too much water, but you get the idea. Take your time with that bleed. You can even grab a little more, make it deeper orange. Just tapping it, just like that. While that's drying, let's make a nice pretty green. Got the yellow with the peacock. I had some brown on there, so it's a little darker. More yellow. More yellow. I want a bright green. Okay. So, I'm going to bend this, connect it. This one's going to connect here. Let's do another half one here. We're going to do this bended little stem. This one will have a little green leaf. Put another little leaf here. Leaf here. Now the poppies have like the little fuzzy stem, so you can, if you want to get really technical, this brush is kind of big, but you have the smaller brush, the 4. Just gonna push out the paint, like make it all fuzzy. This one will have like a little ball green. It's not opened yet. And little fuzzies coming off the sides. Getting real technical with the poppy here. But it's a nice little effect. Okay. We're gonna have to let this dry. We're gonna put in a nice deep dark center. All right, it's dry. You could do a yellow center, but I'm gonna do like a black center. So I've got my gouache watered down, and I'll just go in here and put that center in. Just like that. You want to get even more technical, you can take your number 4 brush, put out the little sprays like here, and then put the little dots on the ends. And there's our poppy. Also, before it dried with the black, you could have gone in, just taken some deeper color and just put some little spray lines kind of going down. Not necessary, but just a nice little technical thing. And you have these pretty looking poppies. Okay, moving on. Now, the last 2. I had put this next one as Foxglove, and then the last one I will tell you, but the Foxglove is kind of funny and tricky. Another one that is kind of hard to grow. It grows sporadically in my yard. They can come in pale pink and white. So it's kind of like the stems of a Delphinium, whatnot. So we're going to just kind of do this. But then the flowers are blooms like, they're like trumpets upside down. So we're going to just do this little crisscrossy. Kind of bend it a little bit up here. Again, add some little of the little sprays. But then they really bend, so you want to bend them down. Little hooks, basically. So I'm going to clean up this mess here. I'm going to make it like a pale pink one. Mine were white in my yard. They grew like wild, and I haven't seen them in a few years. They kind of like come out like a perennial that comes out every other year. But mine didn't want to come out anymore. So just kind of like basically a trumpet going downward. Zoom in so you can see. See? They're open. Like a little bell, like an open bell. You know, I'm just winging it. I'm looking at pictures. I'm just remembering what it looks like. So it's a downward. It's open, and then like a little bell. If we're just painting this small, we're not going to get super technical. People aren't going to care. Another thing I didn't do is that you could do on your little challenge book is you can write the words, and you can write them in a nice pretty pen, or you could paint them. I'm adding a little deeper color. It just makes it pop. The deeper color actually would be in the inside of this little bell kind of thing. To put the pale one on the outside. Let's get a bigger one here. And put the deeper color on the inside. They are in an English garden. They're really pretty. Like I said, not so easy to grow. I'm going to put some little blooms up here. So we're just going to give the suggestion if it's a foxglove. We're not going to get technical. It's Just these downward flowers, kind of like an open bell. And I'll add some of that deep magenta. Just playing around with the color here. Good enough for me, right? Maybe I should add like a third. It needs like another one kind of hanging out over here. Missing a friend, right? Mostly I like to do things in threes, but this is like a little book, so the twos were fine. Going in and adding some of that pinky pink Foxglove, some deeper color back here. Alright, I'm going to go grab some greens. Again, simple leaves. Kind of going like this on the bottom. I'm not really making these magical leaves. I'm just putting some color in here. Kind of close to the bottom. If it's got a lot of water, just kind of push that paint around a little bit. And then if you want to grab some, again, we talk about this all the time, Prussian blue to get in here to add some depth. But that is our Foxglove. We're not going to fuss too much. See how nice that blue just kind of like punches that pink. It's a Foxglove, and I don't speak well, so if you're from the UK, I'm sorry. That's that. Okay, we're done with that one. And the last but not least, I was going to do a Cornflower, but then I remembered that was just pink, so we got to get out of the pink. So I'm going to do a Cornflower. And we have one of those tutorials in my YouTube. And taking the Princeton 4, mixing that purple that I have up here that we had before with that blue, and then grab some of that peacock blue. It's kind of like an aqua purple kind of situation going on. So that's those two colors all watery up here. And we're just going to take our brush, water it down a little more. And this is so simple. You're making these like shh, like that. I'm going to water it down a little bit more, add a little purple. See, it's back and forth, going out into a circular motion. Just like that. Now that's a little too blue. I might add a little purple. Yeah. Just get wild with it. Yeah, that's better. It's like a purpley blue. That was a little too much aqua. I'll just kind of make some sprays coming this way. Let's do a bunch of these. This is a super simple flower. And the bird, not the birds, the butterflies and the hummingbirds love these things. Just wacky like that. Wacky tobacky. And you just grab your greens and just put the greens down, crisscross them. Maybe have like a whole bunch of these. I'm going to add some more stems. Let's get wild with the last one, huh? Let's get wild with it. Basically, they're just tall stems. And we can add a bunch more. Get my purples here. So it's very watery, so it's beating up. Got some little ones here, but that's kind of it. And you can add some deeper color to some of them. A little deeper purple blue. Just kind of bleed that in. Play around with it. Have some fun with this, guys. See, I'm mixing some different color in here. But again, I have a tutorial that with, actually, I think I have it with bees, and I have one that's alone. So this is just expressive, you know, Cornflower. I mean, sorry. I can't think today. It's a holiday weekend, makes you crazy. Cornflower, not Cornflower. I was gonna do a Cornflower, but I'm doing a Cornflower. And then you could just put some other kind of different kind of leaf sprays down here. Get inventive. Make it a little interesting. I would add a little more yellow-green ones. Little sprays. Just to give it some fun friends to hang out with. That's all. See how easy that was? Again, it kind of bled and dried flat, so you can go back in because it's got a bunch of different little petals and leaves. When it's dry, and go back in and see it's too wet. So we're going to dry this and come back and we'll add a little layer. While I was drying that, I had a mishap over here, but whatever. So we'll go back in and we'll take our color and we'll put another layer, maybe a little bit deeper. You know, or if you made them really pale, get even deeper. Just give another layer of sprays. Just like that. Yeah, my green got a little messed up over here. I'm gonna have to fix it so you don't notice it. And that's the cornflower. I'm sorry. Yes, cornflower. So there's the cornflower. And guess what? We met our challenge. The Wildflower Summer Challenge. We got the hollyhock, delphinium, the zinnias, sunflower, hydrangea, the dahlia, the daisy, the poppy, the foxglove, the cornflower. I hope you guys enjoyed this challenge. I hope you guys take on a challenge. A lot of fun to do. I gave you a lot of suggestions to do. Like I said, birds. You could do ocean birds. You can do birds around your area. You know, fruits, vegetables. It's endless. And you'll love it. You'll have a whole little book of cute little things. And you can take them all out and frame them. Or they have these like little clothesline kind of things, little pins. You can put them across. You know, that's what you can do. So I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook challenge. Don't forget to hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial's up. Please don't forget to check out my Patreon. I have exclusive tutorials, ad-free videos, and live streams. I'll be adding a live stream this month on the top tier. I haven't given the date yet, but I'll be giving that soon. You can ask questions if you're on the live stream, and I'll answer them. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. So, guys, get out your little books. If it's not this tiny one, get a bigger one. Challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. I didn't draw any of these flowers. I just kind of painted them from my brain. And I've done a lot of these tutorials, so there are a lot of them on my YouTube. So, thank you guys for stopping by, and have a great day.